Peter Brusso again here, talking with Todd Hill of Hill Electric, and I want to talk about emergency repairs. When everything goes wrong, what does Todd have to do? So, in my research, Todd, one of the biggest things that I ran across, the most common thing that I found, were breaker problems. Um, the breaker keeps throwing, they're using the microwave and the blender, and it goes pop, and they got to run out and fix it again. I also read that when the breakers are installed, and 10 years later, with new appliances coming on, you're putting a bigger load on the breaker and the breaker box. You want to talk about that?
Yeah. For starters, breakers do get old and breakers do go bad, but as a rule, there's usually a reason why that breaker trips. Now, we know in the desert here we get dirt and sand into our electrical panels, and anything with moving parts and sand, it doesn't mix. So breakers wear out from that point of view. Also, if there's a history of issues on that particular circuit where through the years it's tripped and people have had to go out and reset it and reset it. And again, with moving parts, things do wear out. So um, the, I would say the best way to approach it is if the breaker tripped, there's a reason why. Let's find out why.
Right. I mean, even the older houses, the wiring could be deteriorating, right? And causing some leakage to throw a breaker.
Well, yeah, we find, I mean, I have found instances where rodents and that sort of thing have come into play with it, but usually as a rule, on some of the older houses, as you say, if you've got a history of a house 40, 50 years old, that would tell me that probably a half a dozen or more people have had their hands on your electricity through those years,
Mm-hmm.
and whether they replaced a switch or uh, changed out a breaker or a light or whatever the case is. Generally, that's what I find that causes these problems.
Well, in the old days with the screw-in fuses, you could take a penny, I guess, and shove it in there.
I remember that.
I
Yeah,
don't think they could do that anymore.
yeah, not a good idea.
No, I don't think so at all. Now, electrical panels can also age too and need to be replaced, correct?
Well, yeah, but that's something that I get a lot of customers calling me and saying I need to have my panel replaced. Well, the first thing I do when I look at it is, okay, is the panel deteriorating it because the bus bar is burning? Have we had issues in the past? Why do you want it replaced? Because there are competitors of mine out there. There are home inspectors out there who will tell the customer that this panel is 40 or 50 years old and needs replaced. Um, that can be true, but it's not necessarily always true. I don't try to sell a customer a new panel because he thinks he needs a new panel. I sell him a new panel if he needs one. And like I said, generally, if the bus bar has started to burn, if they've had arcing in the panel, it's never going to improve. That's when we need to make a move.
Right. Now, in some cases, outlets do fail as well, too, individual outlets.
Oh yeah, that's pretty common. Again, it has to do with workmanship.
Hmm.
People that were there before me, 9 out of 10 times, that's what we find. Um, I would say that outlets are probably as durable as anything out there, unless they're abused or if they've been overloaded. Something got very hot and that sort of thing. For obvious reasons, yeah, we need to replace something like that.
And I guess with the type of breakers or the type of plugs where you have a bare wire, you slide in a slot and a bayonet grabs it. If that hasn't been put in properly, it can rattle its way out, right?
Well, yeah, that's what we call the quick click. At one point, they came out onto our market in the industry, and everything was built for speed. They were throwing up houses left and right, and everything was built for speed with these quick clicks. Uh, our guys, we don't do that. We use the set screws on the side.
Right.
We actually torque down the screws, and we don't get too many callbacks from our workmanship. But when I go in and replace problems, it was funny. Yesterday, we were at a project where it had common garages, and they had a problem in one plug, and all of these garages were on the same circuit. Nobody could get out of their garage. And what we found was exactly what you say. Somebody had stabbed a wire into one of these quick click plugs. And, 20 years later, it had gotten out of there and had pretty much kept, I think, 8 people out of their garage. They had to manually open their
Open the
garages.
garage,
But
right? Mm.
yeah, so that's why we don't let our guys do that. Everything is used, we use the screws on the side.
Sure. Now,
Takes a little longer, but it's the better product.
it's a better secure. Well, wires start to corrode and deter, and those quick click things will break off. And I've installed a few of those in my own construction in my own days, but not anymore. So, not anymore. Now, you also get called security light stop working, right? That's an emergency for a lot of people.
Security is pretty prominent in our desert, sadly. But yeah, we do get a lot of calls. People don't like to be left in the dark. Um, and I think that I can usually walk away from a house knowing that resident will be safe when we're done with them.
Okay, so I have an emergency and I call Todd. What happens?
Well, are you saying you have an emergency light not working?
Well, no, I've got a plug that isn't working or a breaker, any one of the things we talked about. So I
Oh,
pick up the phone and I say, Todd, hey, I got a problem. No smoke coming out yet, but it doesn't work.
okay, yeah. If you have an emergency, Peter, give us a call. We'll kind of determine what actually is occurring, what the amount of emergency you're under, and
Hmm.
if it's something that needs fixed, we'll get over there and get it done for you. I've done things as simply as had customers take the refrigerator and put in an extension cord until we can get there to keep the refrigerator cold. But
That's a good
um,
idea.
another emergency that we get called a lot for is for chirping smoke alarms.
Oh, gosh.
And they will drive us all crazy, and they never go off in the daytime. They usually go off about 2:30 in the morning. So
Yep.
that is an emergency in a lot of people's eyes, and I totally get it.
Okay. Well, tell him with a ladder and a 9-volt battery. Come on, you two can
Well,
do
but
this.
truthfully, we're in a retirement community,
Well,
Peter, and a
that's
lot
true
of
too.
folks just cannot go up on those ladders, and I'm certainly would never ask somebody to do that.
Yeah, no, I'm actually a person that's not allowed on a ladder, so I can understand that. I call somebody like, Todd, come help me
Yeah.
here. I need some help. All right, well, that sounds good. Any other interesting things about emergency services that you've done? Stories, maybe, or some other things I haven't mentioned?
Oh gosh. Well, I've sat out at midnight till 2 o'clock in the morning waiting for Edison to come and de-energize panel. One
Wow.
time. Yeah. There's a million of them. I don't know that they would be considered emergency stories, but a lot of times they start out as emergencies, and once I get there, it can be smoothed over and have to be finished up on another day, that sort of thing.
Like the
Basic,
like the extension cord on the refrigerator.
exactly. Well, again, if I can save a customer a service call by helping them through it, helping them to reset GFIs and that sort of thing, I'm happy to do that rather than they have to pay me to come over and do that for them when I know they can take care of it themselves. I'm happy to walk them through it on the phone.
Oh yeah, if it's possible, if there's not broken or smoke coming out of the electrical socket, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Which isn't always very good. I had
Well,
that once.
yeah, that's really about the worst it can get, and we don't see that very often.
Right. I read that, as the sockets and things age and we get new appliances that draw more power, higher power, coffee pots, higher power, microwaves, plugging into that circuit, it can lead to breakers tripping and things like that need to get taken care of. It's kind of like our appliances outrun our supply.
Well, yeah, and in our day and age, bigger is better, right?
Of
Faster
course.
cars and all of that. And so we run into instances where you've got a 1500-watt hair dryer or blow dryer, I guess they're called, that's on a 15 amp circuit. And at a 80 percentile rating, that circuit should only allow for 1440 watts,
Right.
and you're running 1500-watt hair dryer on it. So things like that do happen. Now the codes have evolved quite a bit since I would say the last 20 years, where we now dedicate circuits for bathrooms. Kitchens are dedicated 20 amp circuits and that sort of thing.
Right.
But to get to your point, yeah, the microwaves are bigger and better. Uh, as I say, the hair dryers, the curling irons, the coffee makers, all of these things are. So I even have educated my customers on how to balance their kitchen out by putting these appliances on this circuit,
Right.
these appliances on these circuits, and they can a lot of times eliminate things like that. But like I say, the codes have changed, and so we didn't have 20 amp circuits in kitchens for most of my career. Now the codes have changed, and it is required.
No, like I have an electric bread machine, microwave, coffee pot, electric pressure cooker,
Yeah,
all of these things. Now, do you use them all at once? Probably not, but if I did, I might be in problem.
yeah. Well, usually two heating elements on the same circuit will take it right over.
Yeah, well,
It'll trip that circuit.
lucky enough I haven't had that yet, but I know who to call if I do.
Thank you.
All right, Todd. Well, thank you so much for being on the show here, and we'll.
Thanks for having me, Peter.
All right, hang on.